Hi, my name is Amy Hall and I am a co-editor at New Internationalist magazine. We are a largely print-based publication that comes out every 2 months and covers international, social and environmental justice stories. We also run as a multi-stakeholder cooperative, so we have over 4,600 reader owners around the world. And the reason that I'm here to talk to you today is about community share offers and to talk about our experience of them. So we've run two community share offers. The first one was in 2017 and we raised £703,000, and the second in 2021 raised £354,000. And what people were investing in was a business plan which covered our whole business. So that includes the ethical shop, which sells eco and fair trade products, some of our book publishing work, as well as kind of everything that goes around producing the in-depth kind of journalism that we produce. So coming up, I'm going to be talking about what community shares are, how our community shares work, some of the governance kind of things that we've done, how we ran the community share offer, some stuff around getting the message right, where to go for help and advice, and also some of the pros and also the challenges for us of running a community share offer. So community shares are a way for a community to buy a community asset. They are withdrawable, non-transferable share capital, and they are a form of equity available to cooperative and community benefit societies, and they are a way to raise community investment for your organisation. And there's also a link here to a short explainer video. It's about 2.5 minutes of what community shares are. So here are some examples of things that community shares can be used for. So football clubs. This is a FC United in Manchester, and they raised £2 million through community share offers. This is the Bevy pub in Brighton, where I live, which also was kind of saved by the community. This is Latch, so Leeds Action to Create Homes, and yeah, community share offers have used quite a lot for housing. Community Energy, so this is Wedmore Community Power Initiative. And of course the media, this is Positive News, who ran a share offer before New Internationalist did. Yeah, so it also can be used for media publications. I guess it's also worth saying that I don't consider myself an expert in community shares. I was very involved in the second community share offer that New Internationalist run. I wasn't actually working at New Internationalist during the first share offer. So I am happy to try and answer questions. I'll share my email address at the end, but yeah, there are also some links to some real experts if you have more in-depth questions. So one of the important things about community shares is that all shareholders have an equal vote, no matter how much you invest. You may or may not get interest on those shares. People that invest in New Internationalist don't currently, but profit is not the driving motive behind a community share. So it's not the same as kind of other types of shares. It's also a really good way when it comes to the media of challenging the concentration of media ownership that we have in this country, and making our media much more democratic. Yeah, so in terms of New Internationalist community shares, this is kind of our first, no, this is a page of our second share offer. So it was quite a big risk for us to do this in the first place. The first share offer was an all or nothing target. And we'd never really asked our readers for so much before. We'd never done a massive crowdfunding campaign like this of any kind. And so felt like we were really putting ourselves out there, but it was kind of, we needed to do something big. So we did. And it was also, I guess, an experiment in community engagement as well, because community share offers are, yeah, all about the community. And And we also invested a lot of time and energy in making them work. We used a crowdfunder website to run both of our campaigns. This had a lot of benefits for us in terms of it being really easy to set up the page, really useful insights through the page. Everything worked very smoothly for the people who were investing and those kinds of things. Obviously, there are downsides and people might prefer to use other platforms. They do take a cut, but also, people might want to like build their own platforms or use other ones. So we had to change our governance structures in order to do a share offer. We were already running as a worker co-op since the 1980s, so kind of cooperative structures weren't such a big leap for us, and we already had like quite an engaged readership, so it kind of made sense to us to do this. So we converted from a trust to a cooperative society in order to do this. That process took about 6 months. We had to change our rules as well. So as a worker co-op, we already had rules, but we had to adopt a new set of rules. We kind of modeled ours on the Somerset rules and adapted them for our needs. We still operate as a worker co-op day to day. So there's a cooperative called New Internationalist Publications, which kind of sits inside New Internationalist Cooperative. And that New Internationalist Cooperative is what's owned by the readers, but the day-to-day running of the business is done by the workers, done by us. So in terms of like kind of how the co-owners ownership, kind of what say they have, so co-owners can hold us to our editorial charter. So they hold us to account if we stray from our core principles, and they can also become members of the Common Council. So at the moment there's around 12 co-owners on the Common Council, and they're like much more actively involved. We meet with them several times a year. We're in a lot of contact with them. They're like kind of critical friends. They give us feedback. They help us in particular areas. And we're also in the process of kind of expanding our board as well of New Internationalist Cooperative. The workers are 75% of the board, and then we kind of have some other co-owner members as well. Co-owners are also invited to our annual general meetings. We had our annual general meeting recently. In the beginning, we I think held these in person with like maybe like an online element, because we have international co-owners. Over the last few years, we've held them completely online, and then this year was the first year that we did an in-person and online hybrid AGM again. And I think it's really important for us, especially to have that online element, because our readers are kind of, our co-owners are based all over the world, although most of them are in the UK, but still all over the UK. And another important thing I mentioned earlier, one person is one vote. So you may have invested £50 in NI, you may have invested £5,000 in NI, but you still have the same say. And also the workers still have significant power, which is really important to us. And so, yeah, you can kind of adapt the rules and kind of do what kind of suits your organization. So in terms of how we did it, we threw absolutely everything at it. We invested a lot of time, a lot of energy, and also money in kind of making them work. We spent obviously money on paying people's time to work on it, but also things like producing merchandise and that kind of thing to use as rewards, posting out the rewards, posting letters to people, all of those things, like all of those costs add up. Like any crowdfunder, like the more you put in, the more you get out. And also the planning is really, really important. So there were several months of preparation for each one. Yeah, I guess in terms of like staff time, like we had several 2 or 3 members of staff that were working on it the whole time. I mean, some of us were part-time, and then we also had other people who would, or everyone within the co-op had to get involved at some point, and there was also a lot of work kind of leading up to it, kind of writing all the materials, setting everything up, running the share offer, promoting it, and then afterwards a lot of work in kind of making sure that people got their rewards. producing the share offer certificates and those kinds of things. And we also brought in some extra help on things like social media and other things like that. So we also made the most of our community and contacts. So that's our own personal kind of communities and contacts, as well as New Internationalists' wider community and contacts. I think it's quite, I guess, important to say that NI has been going for 50 years. We had, a decent readership to start with. So we already had that community there. And then it was just kind of a case of like engaging that community and building on it. We also had, like, obviously from being around for so long, quite massive email lists and those kinds of things. We also had to kind of lose our, I guess we felt quite uncomfortable about asking for money. Like I said, we haven't done any big crowdfunders. We don't do loads of kind of fundraising from readers. I mean, we do a lot more now than we used to, but we kind of had to get over that kind of awkwardness about asking for money. We also used every channel that we could think of that we had. So we were quite systematic in like writing down absolutely every channel that we had, all the different platforms we used on social media, different email lists that we had, different communities around us, different we have the magazine, we can use letters, all of these kinds of things, and how we were going to adapt our messages for each one and what we were going to do for each one. And obviously, we felt that we could ask some people more than others. The people closest to us, we felt we could ask them more. We sent out weekly emails to some groups of people, and that was really effective. There was always the odd person that would be a bit fed up, but actually we were kind of pleasantly surprised. Most people just like, oh, thank you for reminding me, I'm going to do it. And yeah, our email performed best for us. We used all the lists that we had, but we also used letters and print letters sent to people's houses, and also the print magazine. And again, that was really important to us. It's kind of a ready-made marketing vehicle that we have. So that was really, really important. We ran some ads on social media. We did articles on our website and others, and press releases. But the things that worked the most were, like speaking to our community directly through email and through the magazine and through post. And in the second share offer, we also kind of adapted our messaging based on how much people had invested in the first share offer, and also like whether or not they were already co-owners or not. And we personalized some communications. We even hand wrote letters to a couple of people as well. So we also did an online and offline campaign, as I kind of mentioned. So, we have a lot of readers in different places. Some of them we had emails for, but not addresses. Some people we had addresses, but not emails. So, and also we have, quite a few older readers. So it was really important to us to have both those things. So another thing that we did was run a phone line. We set up a kind of phone number that people could call, and we would have a rota of people who would kind of take those calls, including at the weekends. And we did get quite a lot of investment that way. I think in the second share offer it was less than the first, and also I think we would kind of think again about if we did another share offer, we might not have the phone line, like have people on the phone line as much as we did, because there were some weekends where you might just get one call in the whole day. But it was still, and it was also really nice to speak to people on the phone as well. And our existing co-owners came on board for the second community share offer, which was really important. They felt very much like part of the cooperative by that point. We weren't just going to people as a workers co-op, a small workers co-op. We were going to people as a co-op of over 3,000 people, and that was really, really important. So to run a share offer, you need a business plan which explains what you're going to invest in, and as well as kind of some background about the business, information about your finances, and all of those kinds of things. And there are some specific things that you need to include in your share offer documents, such as a capital at risk warning. And there's a handbook later, which I'll share the link to, which kind of explains some more about this. One of the good things about share offer is that it's quite a lot more transparent and open than a regular crowdfunding campaign has to be. Obviously, you can still do that in a crowdfunding campaign. And it really kind of makes you think about your finances. How much money do you need to do what you say you're going to do? And also, like all crowdfunding campaigns, the message is really important, really communicating what your unique selling point is, and why you're running the share offer, and why it's important that people support you. If you weren't able to do this thing that you're trying to get people to invest in, or if you were to go out of business, like what would that mean for people? And it's also really important to think about how you speak to different audiences as well, which I think I mentioned already. We spent a lot of time on our messaging, like a lot of drafts. Some of us we write, we edit all the time. That's kind of what we do, but it's kind of a very different type of communication. And yeah, we did a lot of like redrafting. And we also did a little bit of testing on like people who we thought might invest, or our existing co-owners, over like certain messages and that kind of thing. We also put together this core messaging document, which was kind of a long and short description of what the campaign was about and all those kinds of things, to use as like a base for everyone to communicate the campaign. Like all crowdfunding campaigns, I think a video is really important. We were advised to try and get as many people as possible in the video from NI, and also to kind of communicate why NI was important. The first one was done in 2017, so obviously before COVID. It was filmed at the office. We also kind of got some videos sent in by some kind of more well-known names like Jarvis Cocker, and also kind of other people in our community. And we were able to like film some bits of our meetings and those kinds of things. The second one in 2021, by that time we had a tiny office. It was also very much COVID was very much still everywhere. There was, I think, still some restrictions, although maybe not so much by that point. So yeah, the video had less people in it, much more mobile phone recording. And we were really lucky that Byline TV lent us their TV studio to record the main part of the video. Myself and a colleague went to London and hadn't seen each other for ages, well over a year by that point. So yeah, that was really exciting for us. But also, yeah, it was really good to still have the people in the video, however we did it. And the second video as well, it was really important to us to have. Yes, we had like one of our journalists. We also had Nemo Bassi, who's a kind of activist, to really communicate why they felt NI was important. And yeah, co-owners recruit co-owners, as I'd said. Like the co-owners that we already had really helped us for the second share offer, and also a lot of them invested again as well. Again, I think because we do ask people for regular donations, but a lot of before that we hadn't done so much kind of asking for regular donations. People were like, yes, we're happy to give you the money, you just need to ask us. Another thing is, yeah, just remembering that your community knows you really well. So especially in the second share offer, we got loads and loads of comments on the crowdfunder page from people who'd invested, and they were so good in terms of just explaining why NI was important. And we kind of used some of those quotes in future communications, but we also kind of just use their essence or like their inspiration to boost our morale, but also to think about our USP. And yeah, just making sure you tell everyone is really important. You never know who might be up for sharing it, who might be interested. It's a really good way to talk about your publication, why it's important, those kinds of things. I mean, you won't be able to think about much else anyway if you run a community share offer like any other big crowdfunding campaign. It takes over your life. But yeah, it's just always worth talking to people about it, and also just explaining to people that it's also really important to share it. It's not just about investing money. Another thing that's really important for us was to get help and advice from anyone who would give it. We worked really closely with experts. Again, this was also something that we spent some money on. We worked with people who'd done it before. And yeah, that was really important to us. Also looking at what other people had done with their community share offers and with their crowdfunding campaigns, not just other media organizations. Again, it wasn't something that we'd done, like we hadn't done a big campaign like this before. So that was really, really useful for us. And obviously in the second share offer, we had all the learning from the first share offer as well. But yeah, just kind of looking at what else is out there, and yeah, testing messages if you can. But that's not always that easy in terms of getting everything done in time. One of the things that we really like about having done community share offers is that it brings your audience a lot closer to you. People really feel ownership over NI now. Obviously, there are shareholders who you know, they just basically want to donate money and that's kind of it. But there's a lot of people who feel really, really attached. They want to get involved, or even if they don't want to get involved, they really feel like, yeah, a sense of ownership over it, which is like really amazing. And you know, they will hold you to account. And, you know, they'll send you messages as a shareholder, you know, as a co-owner. Yeah, I think that's really important. It's obviously a really great injection of cash, especially if you're in a bit of a crisis. It's another good thing about it is it's really clear what people are giving the money to. You have to really kind of account for what you're going to do with the money. And in our second share offer, we felt like we really had to account for the first share offer as well. So, you know, what went well, what didn't go so well, what did we change our minds on, like all of those kinds of things. And I think that's really important to have that transparency. Again, like, you know, so much of the media is funded by like massive kind of yeah, there's so much concentration of ownership, these billionaires that are behind them, all these kind of trusts, all these kinds of things. When you're like a small independent publication, it's really, really great to be able to just be really transparent about your finances and say, oh, this is kind of where the money's come from, and this is what we've done with it. And yeah, again, you have to kind of bear in mind that it's not just like a donation, it is money that people have invested in. They really want to know what you're doing about that. It also affects your accounts differently to a donation as well, so that's something to bear in mind. Having a deadline can really motivate people as well. Both of our share offers were time limited, and the first one was all or nothing. So yeah, that really did motivate people towards the end. And again, the second share offer as well, even though it wasn't all or nothing, you know, we really didn't know if we would hit our target. Like, we thought about also extending the second share offer slightly, to the point where me and my colleague were on the phone saying, should we extend it or not? We don't know what to do. We can't decide what to do. And then we were just umming and ahhing about that for like half an hour as suddenly everything just went up and we saw it go to the target. And that was, yeah, really amazing. Like the kind of momentum that builds around having a deadline on social media. Everyone suddenly is like, you know, sharing it, really willing you to succeed. And that's like really nice. Some of the challenges for us, yeah, it's not a silver bullet. It's not a source of regular income either, for us anyway. So, you know, those are both things to keep in mind. They're very time intensive to set up and run well. Like, we really put like everything we could into these both times, and that was really important to us. We had to like redo kind of quite a lot of our editorial schedule and a lot of stuff to just try and free up the time to work on it, because it was kind of like, if we're gonna invest this much of ourselves in it, we really want it to work, and I think that's really important. Slightly more complicated to communicate than a regular kind of crowdfunding campaign, because it's much a different thing to someone just donating money and then that's it. You know, they are becoming co-owners or kind of shareholders, so you have to kind of communicate to people what that means for their money, what that means for the business, all of those things. And so there's quite a lot of documentation that has to be produced, and you have to really think about making sure that that's communicated clearly and people know. It's also very draining, which again, I guess is the same for any crowdfunding campaign, and very public. And you really have to just put yourself out there as well. Um, it is also something that you need to think about, like what happens after the share offer. So not only is there a lot of potential admin to do, a lot of kind of sorting out how you're going to communicate with these new people that have joined you, how they're going to be involved, like what how is their involvement going to be meaningful, but also just making sure you maintain those relationships. For us, it's also about organizing common council meetings, emailing them, like all of these things. You just have to think about how you're going to support that. So in terms of like our share offers, there's some links here to both of our crowdfunder pages, and this is our business plan, kind of the front cover of our business plan, which is linked to from our page. And so here are some people that you can ask for help. So people who've done it before, other media organizations who've done it before, like New Internationalist. Just ask anyone you can for advice. The Co-ops UK Community Shares Handbook is really useful. There's a link to it here. Dave Boyle, he's a real expert in community shares. He's done loads of share offers with different organizations, and he helped us a lot with the first one. He's from the Community Shares Company. Co-ops UK, again, if you're a co-op, they're really useful. And yeah, if you do use crowdfunder, we did find that they were really supportive, and in the second share offer, we had regular meetings with them as well. If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me. This is my email address, amy.hall@newent.org, and I can try and answer them or find out the answer. Thank you for listening.